Prime Video. It is Bosch Legacy. One final case, one final fight, one final season. I hate to hear that. I've got best-selling author and executive producer Michael Connelly, and of course, the star of the show, Titus Welliver. How are you two doing?
We're very well, thank you. It's good to see you.
Good seeing you. I got to ask Michael, where did you come up with this character, man? What's the background on this?
Uh, the Harry Bosch comes from many different directions. Of course, I grew up loving detective shows, going all the way and movies, going back to Steve McQueen and Bullet. But then I was a newspaper reporter in Los Angeles, and I was on the cop beat, so I talked to many detectives every day. And so Harry Bosch kind of came out of all that. I kind of put all that in a blender, mixed it up, and outpoured Harry Bosch. And then this guy grabbed that character and did a wonderful run with it.
I would say a great run with it. I really like your acting in this, Titus. I really do. It's extremely well done. And Michael, it's interesting that you brought up Steve McQueen. Now that I think about it, he does seem like a little bit of a Steve McQueen. Talk about that, Titus.
Well, I think because I'm a Steve McQueen fan myself, but I think there's a stillness that you see quite often in McQueen's performances. He leans into that, and there's a stillness about Harry Bosch. I mean, he's a guy, he's a man of action, and a guy who is capable of heroic deeds, but never comments about it. He's a very internalized character, and so uh, that's what's very you can't really get a read on Harry because he's the one that's reading all the time. He's a guy who's in a constant state of observation, and that's a lot for the brain to process. He doesn't really shut it down. The only time, even when he's kicking it in his crib and listening to great music, what does he have in front of him? A murder book and a nice glass of scotch. But he's in that process sort of at all times. You sort of wonder, there is no kind of internal off switch for him. And so I think it's really the back to what you said. I think there's a kind of stillness and observation that makes that character appealing. The audience wants to kind of get inside of his head and think what he's thinking.
Michael, the whole time he's talking, you're sitting there smiling and shaking your head. Yeah, yeah. How much collaboration do you two do on this?
We did it a lot, and I think I was smiling because when he talks about the character, I kind of feel like I'm learning stuff about the character for the first time because as an actor, he does such a deep dive into the character, more so than I think I do as the writer of the character. I'm probably more surface about it than he is, and so it's always fun to hear him analyze the character. And I can still remember. I think it was 12 or 13 years ago when he came in to audition for the part, and there's probably 7 or 8 people there, very tense thing to have to do. But and then thanked us and left. And before he got to the parking lot, we ran out and got him because everyone said that was Harry Bosch. So we kind of instinctively had that. I don't know whether you want to call it a Steve McQueen quietude or whatever, but he had what we were looking for, and it was obvious from the first moment we met him.
Every time you say Steve McQueen, he's sitting there smiling again. So I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. I'm a Steve McQueen fan too. Before we get out of here, I got to ask you this question, Titus. I mean, one of the things I love about you and your character, especially when you wear short sleeve shirts, are those tattoos for real, man? I love those tattoos on your arm.
They are. They're all my tattoos, and we never played the tattoos. We never came in close on the tattoos, so they were there. And actually, I had maybe 6 or 8 tattoos when we did the pilot. And I remember having a conversation with Michael. I said, "How do you feel about tattoos? I mean, I can cover them if you want to." And Mike said, didn't know cops have tattoos. Um, well, our other producer, Henrik Baston, it drove him a bit nuts because it would seem that in between each season in the hiatus, I would get more tattoos. So by the time we got to, you know, season 3 of Legacy, I could join the circus, right? As the tattooed man. But they're kind of like they're potato chips and children. I can never have enough. So, but they interestingly enough, although you never really could see what they were. I mean, people would freeze frame and say, "Oh, what does this mean?" They're all personal to me, but they're the tattoos were sort of part of Harry's armor, and that's what I kind of like. Once again, without the audience seeing them, they couldn't connect it to a specific thing, but it became a part of Harry's, external life.
I have to agree with you. It is part of Harry's armor, and that's one of the things that makes him who he is. Titus, Michael, thank you for joining us so much on Morning Blend. I'm not going to get a tattoo, Titus. I'm going to keep my arm
Okay.
covered. One last question I got to ask, because I think the series is so interesting, and forgive me for asking this. After the season's over with, is there a possible Mike coming up with a Steve McQueen character in a movie with Titus playing that character?
Yeah, we're already talking about that. He's got to have a lot of tattoos.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Morning Blend. I'm looking forward to it, Mike. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks so much.